Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this November the 26th, Thursday, November the 26th, 2020. Thank you for tuning in. Now listen, let's get started. Let's open up the charts right here, and let's take a look at this. This is called, I'll just see if I can focus in on it so you can see it. Just give me a second. See if I can focus these charts in on this. Charts being a little bit difficult. Okay, there, we're getting it. This is called an apex. It's a curve that's formed. Okay. The simplest demonstration I can give you guys of an apex curve is when you take a tennis ball or a softball or a baseball and you throw it up into the air. It goes up and up and up and up and up from the energy. Now, the harder you throw it, the more energy it's got, the higher it's going to go, right? But eventually, it's going to hit the apex, where it hits the peak of that curve. It starts to slow down, and it'll actually stop in midair and hang there for just an instant. And then it starts to fall. And the further it's going to fall depends on how high you threw it up into the air. And all this seems like a simple principle to most people, but they're not understanding that the stock market right now, the gold market, the silver market, all these markets are under the effect right now of an apex curve. Back in March, when they came out with that monster of a stimulus package, that threw the ball up into the air. Basically. It was basically like what happens to a railway car when there's an enormous explosion and the railway car gets blasted up into the stratosphere. Like if there's a nuclear bomb or something and there's a railway car there. I've seen explosions throw railway cars for a mile. It goes up into the air, keeps going up and up and up and up, and then there's a spot where it's just like it's hovering in the air just for a fraction of a second. That's where we're at right now. We're at the apex. That's where the stock market's at right now, is at the apex of this thing. I've been waiting for this. I knew this apex or this peak would come. And, I did a show on my other channel, Delta Report, where I explained how Bitcoin could fall. Everything could fall, in price, because if they don't do more stimulus. Now, the key to all this, to tossing it back up into the air again, is stimulus. No stimulus going on right now. Let's take a look at, what have I got here? Let's take a look at some of these pictures. Now, Nero fiddled while Rome burned. And, there is, Donald Trump's going onto the golf course an awful lot right now these days, but I'm going to tell you what. Here's the thing. 50 million people in the United States of America right now, if they don't get more stimulus, this is the situation we're in. The jobs are gone for good. Stimulus is the only thing right now that is actually holding this system together from doing what Rome did. Because, when you get masses of people, and they're used to a certain lifestyle, they're used to always having a meal on the table. And all of a sudden, you get the bottom drops out. In other words, the ball starts to come back down again. Nobody's there to catch it. They're off on holidays or whatever. While the stimulus is not there anymore, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it should be a no-brainer what's going to happen. There's no real efforts being put in to get these new stimulus packages going. So the states now are saying we'll come up with stimulus packages. Yeah, what are you guys going to come up with? You broke. A lot of the states are practically broke. if they do come up with any sort of stimulus packages, you can bet it's just going to be pantry compared to the. Well, evidently they're willing. A lot of the states are willing to actually put in some sort of an effort to try to come up with some stimulus package of their own, but they recognize the need right now because there's like 50 million people out there. You saw that. You've all seen the big long lineups at the food banks and stuff, and they're saying, "Hey, where's all this food coming from?" Because I hear on the opposite side of this coin, what I'm hearing is it out there right now, the food production, the dairy farms are going under left and right because of the deflating situation. That food production's off. An awful lot of food is being dumped because things are going crazy. Things are starting to go a little bit crazy at this point in this winter, and they need to keep things up and running. They need to get that stimulus, but these guys are dropping the ball. And essentially, what we actually could get is this, where the old thing about Rome burning, while Nero fiddled, while Rome burned, that's what can happen. You get a bunch of people out there who've always had a meal on the table. All of a sudden they don't have anything. Those people's stomachs then start to growl, and that's a motivating force. For what? For what? It just takes a spark. It just takes a group and these groups are already out there, and the first thing you know, you got this situation going on where you got the collapse of an empire. It can happen overnight, and it's very hard. Once it starts, it's very hard to get a handle on it, to get it to stop. But there's a big difference here, guys. There's a big difference between when Rome burned and our modern day. And what the difference is interdependencies. I've been talking about this on my show for practically forever. As a society, we've made ourselves interdependent. In other words, all of our systems are structured in a way that they're interdependent. Your trucking industry is reliant upon your fuel oil industry that supplies the gasoline to the gas pumps. And they are reliant upon the ships that bring the oil over. These are interdependencies. See? Now, if you move back to the time of Rome, these people a lot of them were capable, or they knew people that were relatives of theirs that probably didn't live far from Rome, lived out in the country, and who had goats, and they made cheese and everything else, small farms and everything. And so where did these people go when Rome burned? They probably headed off away from the burning areas and went out to the country or whatever. And the same thing happened during the Great Depression, when society failed them, when their governors and their leaders failed them. Well, they went back to the soil because they were capable. Everybody in those days knew how to do things, how to plow and how to plant. But we got a modern generation. For the last 100 years, we've lost these traditional values. We've lost these things. We don't have them anymore. No, these younger generation now, and that's where the energy is. They have the vitality. They don't know how to do anything except play computer games and be fed, spoon fed. You understand what this means? If the system goes down into confusion, and they're dropping the ball right now. This winter, they're dropping the ball. They're not getting the money out there into the system. It's dire consequences could come from all of this. Let's get in there and take a look at some of the stuff that's happening in the markets. But if America collapses like Rome collapsed, if America collapses like Rome collapsed, then all of the rest of the world is tied into that financial system. That America is the centerpiece. America is the cornerstone the bedrock of the whole world's financial system, guys. And all this can happen really fast, because we've got a lapse in the power structure out there. We've got a Biden government that's trying to come in through the door, and we got on the other side of the door, we got the Trump administration that's still in power, and then we got a divided Congress, and we got a divided Senate, we got a divided House, and we got the whole thing is just completely divided in the political spectrum right now. They can't have bipartisan support on anything. And so, because of that, they've went out to lunch, basically, or went out to vacation, or whatever, holidays and stuff, and meanwhile, they're dropping the ball. Stimulus, each time they release one of these big stimuluses, it lasts a number of months. It lasts quite a while, but what's going to happen is each successive one they release isn't going to last as long unless it's bigger. So they did $3.2 trillion, the last stimulus, and it lasted a long time. It lasted the best part of a year. But right now we're at the apex of it, right? What are they going to have to do next time? Well, if they do less than $3.2 trillion, it ain't going to last as long. And if they do the same, $3.2 trillion, say they did $3.2 trillion, you'd find it's not going to last. It'd be a month shorter or 2 months shorter before we hit the apex of it. And each time successively, it's going to take more and more stimulus. Ultimately, this will generate hyperinflation. But it's not dropping the ball. If they keep the stimulus coming, they can keep this system running for an extended period of time. I don't know how long, but a long time. Because people will stick with the dollar. Okay? But if they drop the ball too hard, and the people revolt, then America would go down, and then the rest of the system would follow it down. And the whole world is structured this way, to tell you the truth. Not just America. The kids don't know how to do any of the cultural things that their forefathers knew how to do. They don't know how to churn butter. They don't know how to milk a cow. They don't know how to plant a field. But these are the things that we need to know in order to eat. Because the system that we've created for ourselves, where machines plant the field, machines milk the cows, and all of that relies upon has the interdependencies again. I can't express this enough. That if this whole thing, honest to gosh, okay, let's move on. Cryptocurrencies, 503, and here's the big drop. Now, I said that this could be coming. I did a show on it, and you can link into the show. I'll leave a link in the description. I did a show on this about how we could see a big drop in the price of cryptos, gold, silver. I even listed the prices I think they can go down to. The bottoms, if we get a big drop in because they're dropping the ball. But I also did shows over there at Delta Report, my other channel, on what it would look like if the whole thing collapses, the whole world collapses into a deflation. If they let it collapse into a deflation, how bad will it be, and how long would it last, and everything else. Did shows on it. I'll leave links, to that. My channel, the Delta Report, you guys can tune into it. So, cryptocurrency, 503, we've had a big drop. 17,000 for Bitcoin, it was up near 20,000. Dow Jones today, 173 points down. Let me just refresh the page. Yeah, 173 points down on the Dow. But, we've got this apex. If we take a look at the 1-year chart here, we can see that it's went up and up and up to the apex. I think this is the apex of the curve. I don't think it's got more energy until we get more stimulus. More stimulus, more energy. And, they will front-run stimulus. If they even get a hint of news that there's a confirmed stimulus package coming, you'll see this market go back up. You'll see everything start to go back up. Because they'll front-run it. We'll have to wait and see what happens with this. Let's take a look now at crude oil. Crude oil's 45.02, and it's down just 69 cents, or 1.51%. Let's take a look at the move index today. 39.62 and dropping. Bonds and rates. We're looking at a mixed bag on it, and it's not moving very much. We're looking at 0.88 on the 10-year, and we're looking at 0.62 on the 30-year. Now for the dollar index, 92.07, the dollar. It'll pick up strength. If we get any sort of a collapse in things, the dollar tends to pick up strength, and this tends to give strength to the dollar. So if the stock market starts to collapse, everything starts to collapse, gold, silver, Bitcoin, everything, the dollar generally holds strength. Except what would happen if it's a monster collapse? Well, you know, there's a certain point in a monster collapse where they're going to start to run back into Bitcoin, gold, and silver. Because of fear. The fear trade. And at that point, you know, they start to question America. There would be a question to America's viability, to the world's viability. I mean, they start to run. What happens to people if there's an ultimate collapses and everything goes haywire? People start to run back and forth. Like, they run this way and then they run this way like they got their hair on fire, you know. They start to, they don't know what to do. They've got a lot of adrenaline in their system. Tons of adrenaline. Because there's cars on fire and everything's happening. The world's coming to an end, you know. And they're running around, but they don't even know where they're going because just the adrenaline's acting on their body and it's impulsive. First they run this way and then they run back where they came from and then they run back that way again. It's running in circles, you know, and because they haven't got a clear plan or anything, it's panic. There's a good way. It's panic. They're panicking. Okay, but this is the situation, you know, with investors could panic, start to panic. They run into one thing and then run out of that and into something else, trying to find safety in an unsafe environment within the financial system. Okay, let's take a look at our animal for today. I got a cute little animal for you, the weirdest animal on earth, you know. And they live right there in the United States, down the southeast United States. I've seen them before crossing roads and stuff. This is an animal called an armadillo. And the weird thing about an armadillo is that they can fold themselves into a ball. Quite literally fold themselves into a tiny little ball. Never seen anything like it. What these animals can do. They fold themselves into a ball. But I'll tell you what they remind me of. They remind me of of something called a pill bug that can fold itself into a ball too and has an armor shell. It's basically the same idea as a pill bug, you know. Pill bugs, if you touch them, they'll fold up into a little ball to protect themselves, and they got armor plating around them too, but they're a bug version of the armadillo. Thank you guys for tuning into my show. Like and subscribe. We could have... I'll tell you my personal opinion on it. I think when the real trouble starts to hit this winter, I think you'll see a big fat stimulus package again. That's what I think. And then things will start to go back up. You know? And I don't think they're going to drop the ball again with the stimulus. I think that they'll be forced into a stimulus package this winter. And then they'll put these programs in next year. Like universal basic income. It's coming. I can almost guarantee it. And these programs like the central bank digital currency, when they'll be able to pump endless amounts of money out with these programs. And once they put these programs in place, and they're going to be forced to keep the structure of the system together, which I think they're going to do. I think they're going to hold the structure of the system together. Then what's going to happen is, because I don't think they want the system to burn down. Which one of them wants to take responsibility for that? the loss of human life would be tremendous, and I don't think they want to let the system burn down. But on the other hand, they've squabbled back and forth, and they can't come to what makes them form to some sort of an arrangement very quickly is when the trouble hits. So they're going to wait until the trouble hits. And then they're going to act to get out this assistance to the people, Up till now, everything's been holding together with these big long food banks, putting out food and everything, and the system's been holding together on fumes and vapors from the last stimulus and everything, and they don't see the need or the big problem out there. But when the big problem comes, then they'll do something, and that's when all these programs will be put into place, and they'll keep them running. They'll keep these programs running indefinitely into the future. So they probably won't have this problem again. Because right now they're going to have this problem because the old social programs they have in place are inadequate for this modern world that we have now. We need more social programs, a better structured social system to be out there and support the people in a crisis, and they're going to put it in. The biggest move of all is the central bank digital currency. That's a massive move. And that's needed now at this point, And for people out there who argue, about it, without it, everything will be burning, and you'll see. I mean, they're letting the ball drop right now a little bit. You could see massive trouble coming this winter. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.